Aloha and welcome to Stringer Podcast number 10. Double digits now. Get me a party hat and let's bake us some cake. Because any reason is a good reason for cake. On this week is a dear, dear friend of mine. You can find her on NBA TV Canada. You can see her on the big screen at every Raptors home game and hosting events all around the city. It's Katherine Stefankiewicz. Now it's confession time, though. Remember a couple weeks back with the Mike on Much guys, how we had some audio issues? Well, the audio bug bit again. We held microphones the whole time. We had everything running the whole time, but the computer decided it wanted to record us through the laptop mic. So I apologize to that. I apologize to Kash, but when you listen through, you realize we're going to have her back on anyway, and we'll do it right then. Before we get to that, I'm on vacation this week. Can you believe it? I found a little hole in my schedule and decided to make like a leaf and get out of Dodge. So for this week's Big Stringer weekend, I'm doing it Hawaii style. Big island of Hawaii, to be exact, for the, no people that's listening to this in Hawaii. Friday night, you got the Big Island Park and Grinds. Now, if you're like me, you see the name Park and Grinds and you're thinking, this could be a pretty wicked dance festival. Well, you're going to be in for a treat. No dancing. But what's the one thing I love more than dancing? Food. The Big Island Park and Grinds is a food truck festival happening in Hilo. They provide unique and local flavors to fill your tum-tum. And then Saturday, you can head over to Tommy Bahama. That's 1330 Monalani Drive. I shit you not, I was here 2 years ago with actually this week's guest, Kash. And we went to Tommy Bahama, and by the end of the night, we were running the DJ station. I'm not kidding. We had total control of the party. It's a great night out. And then Sunday, if you're not too exhausted, you can't go to Hawaii and not go to the Legends of Hawaii Luau. That happens at the Hilton Waikoloa Village. Went there again 2 years ago. The food is great. The dancers are unbelievable. And we even had a friend pulled up on stage. Yeah, these things could happen. So if you just happen to be in Hawaii for the weekend, fill your weekend up. Maybe you're going to catch me hanging around the food trucks or taking over the DJ booth again at Tommy Bahama. But now, without further ado, no more waiting, we bring you Stringer Podcast Episode 10 with Katherine Stefankiewicz. I again am sorry about the audio issues, but you're going to get 3 minutes in, you're going to love the conversation, and forget the audio issues are even there. Just one last thing, very, very, very important. Cue up that sax.
I have I think I have hypoglycemia issues, where I can really feel when my sugar's crashing. And then that's why
you don't nutrient.
I don't nutrient myself.
Nutrient yourself.
I don't nutrient myself. Ever.
I'm trying to catch myself.
It was good. I liked it.
But it's true.
Oh, did I not put? I didn't, did I?
I do not nutrient.
I do not nutrient myself well.
What do you think of my bubble vest?
I loved it. I saw it on Snapstagram.
IG stories, I've been told. Are you nervous?
I am a little bit nervous.
Why?
Which is odd because I never have to be professional around you. Right? There's never
that professional.
Well, this isn't that professional, but I have to go somewhere with the conversation. And the art of what we've always had is the fact that we've never had to go anywhere with their conversation. Mm-hmm. That it's honestly so often in the moment.
It'll be interesting for me too, because as someone that asks the questions, I'm sure I'll be doing that too. It'll be
that you're going to lead me, and then I'll lead you.
I won't lead you.
It'll be this weird dance where we have two leaders.
Shit, Kat, you just led.
It was a dark and stormy night sometime in the 80s. It probably looked like a lot like the beginning to a Stranger Things episode. Oh. And out comes little Kasia into the world.
It was actually a really, really snowy day.
Was it really?
Yeah. That's the thing with March 21st. It's unpredictable.
Completely.
Having birthday parties growing up, some years we were in shorts and t-shirts, and it was 30 degrees out. and some years it was -10 and just covered in snow.
Just crummy.
Yeah.
What's like the March sign? I know ours. I'm an Aries.
Yeah,
but
I'm
you
an Aries.
but you fall right on the line.
Oh, on the cusp.
What's the other one?
Pisces.
Pisces.
Literally, the first day of the zodiac is March 21st.
No way.
So, because of the timing of when I was born, I'm half Pisces, half Aries. Which, if anybody follows kind of the zodiac and the characteristics of the signs, I'm definitely half and half.
So where does that fit in? How do you see it? How do you see it play? Okay, so I know enough about Aries only because I am one.
Yeah.
I know nothing about the other signs, the zodiac. So tell me about Pisces.
I don't know a ton about Pisces. I just know that Aries is like a fire in your face, get shit done kind of like sign.
In the nicest possible way.
Yeah, we mean
bullheaded.
Yeah.
Stubborn.
And Pisces is just like that calm or soothing, like have that calm or soothing air about them. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. Don't you think that's like half and half?
Yeah, I'm gonna be blunt.
The calm part?
I don't know. The opposite. I don't see the stubbornness as I see it in myself. I see the fire. I see that excitement, that willingness to grow and excel and exceed and to push limits and push boundaries, which is, I think, definitely an Aries trait.
Yes.
I don't see the stubbornness in you. I see the calmness that everything, like in every conversation, it always comes around to, I'm just trying to live in the moment. I'm trying to appreciate what's now,
completely.
Not get anxious about what's in the future.
That's calm? Like
To me, that's calm because I'm the exact opposite. My brain will say, no, you have to plan for today and then plan for tomorrow. And if you don't plan for tomorrow, you can't plan for the end of the week. If you don't plan for the end of the week, what are you going to do in December? And if you don't plan for December, 2018 is going to be a write-off, even though it's next year. And then before you know it, you're going to be 40 and you'll have accomplished nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely a little bit lighter looser when it comes to that, the planning and stuff, but I'm definitely stubborn. Ask my mother.
Katherine Stefankiewicz joins the podcast. Kasia, Kash.
I answer to it all.
You answer to it all. You've always been Kash to me. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just when we met 8 years ago, I think now. And we always had that, even though I think as a performer, you were Katherine at the time.
Yeah.
And then you kind of came back into Kat.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Kat, I consider it like a stage name, but it's also came from somewhere, which was a nickname.
Right.
Way back to high school. And then I guess I did start in the industry as Katherine.
You were, totally. I've seen things with Katherine Stefankiewicz.
So Katherine Stefankiewicz turned into Kat just to kind of like, well, it was either shorten my first name, let's be real. So it did turn into Kat. But like when I introduce myself to people, it's kind of confusing. I say, hi, I'm Katherine.
Do you really?
Yeah, like depending on the moment. Because if I'm just out of a friend's house, and again, I was thinking about this the other day because I really don't know how to do it. Because like if I meet somebody new, some days it's Katherine and some it's Kat. If there's people around that I'm hanging out with that already call me Kat. Right. So anyways, it's usually Katherine. And then Kasia is Katherine in Polish. And my parents and any close friends and family.
Kasia. Mm-hmm. It's funny though, because for me, we don't really work together, but we work in the same environment. Mm-hmm. And I don't even have to think, because when I spit it out, it's Kat. I'm like, oh, have you met Kat yet? Have you worked with Kat yet? Oh, were the two of you working on this thing? It's so automatic because it's you in a work setting. It's this one person, and then you and everything else we do.
An identity crisis.
Right.
It's like, I don't. What's my name? No, it's not that bad.
If you were to shorten your last name, what would it end up being?
I don't know. Definitely not Stevens.
No. Stevens.
No.
Interesting.
When my family used to order pizza, like growing up, it was Stevens. Like, can I get your last name, Stevens? Because Stefankiewicz was
they'd mess it up 7 times
17
from Sunday. I don't know when I had to learn to spell it or why I ever had to learn to spell it, but I've known, I don't want you to test me, but I've known like...
I was just going to,
So, okay, you want to try this?
Well,
Stefankiewicz.
Correct.
Which I had to learn at some point. Was I writing your name on...
Why is it that
resumes?
Intimidating? Like, I don't. It's not 13 letters.
It's only.
There's worse out there.
I basically have 13 letters in my first and last name combined.
Actually, in grade 1, like for the longest time, I had to pull out my ruler to
copy off the back of it.
Name on paper because I was like, oh, This is embarrassing.
It's interesting how names affect people or almost create your identity when you're at such a young age. Like when you're between the ages of, let's say, 5 when you enter kindergarten, or 6 when it's grade 1, all the way through, I guess, the end of elementary school for me, which I would have been about 12 years old. There was always like 4 Matts in the class. So you have Matt A, Matt R, Matt P, right? Right. So there's always several Matts. Robs we had a lot of. Mikes we had a lot of. For girls in our class, Brittany's, I think we had a couple.
Ashley was popular.
Ashley, Michelle.
Yeah, Michelle.
But someone became like Matt P.
Yeah.
That was, his name wasn't Matt or Matthew anymore.
Yeah,
his name to everyone was Matt P.
Yeah.
And you just knew him as Matt P. But what happens is you have this, you become acutely aware whether you stand out or fit in.
Yeah.
Right? Whether you are of a norm of that generation or not. And I bet you there's pros and cons to both of it.
Do you wish you were a Matt S?
No, I love being Clay.
You love being the only Clay.
I love being the only Clay. I never met another Clayton until I was in my late teens, I think.
Well, it's funny because I went into grade 1 as Kasia, and I told Mama that I didn't want to be Kasia anymore. I wanted to be normal.
Like
and
5
now
years
I
old?
Like, I don't regret it. Like,
Mom.
it is what it is. But, yeah, it was, like, really different. Think about it. Kash Stefankiewicz. That's heavy.
That's heavy, yeah.
And
Try getting your teachers. I couldn't get teachers to spell my name correctly.
Yeah.
Wild. Clayton. How do you spell Clayton? Clayton? No Y.
How do you spell it?
No Y. They always left out the Y.
Clayton?
Clayton. And I'd repeat it back to them.
Call you that now.
And that legit was the start, I think, of my rebellion against authority, which has now lasted, is when I felt as a young age that I could correct the teacher.
Yeah.
And I could be like, no, it's Clayton you wrote on the board. I have a Y in my name.
That's why I didn't put it in my hand when you called me.
Right? I remember in high school as cell phones were becoming a thing, and I had that moment where teachers, so when only maybe 3-4 kids in your class or any given class in high school have a cell phone, they were outlawed. They were, they didn't want you playing Snake on your little Nokia or texting during class because, first of all, no one could turn off the sounds, and so it was loud as can be. Second of all, you were distracted. And so I remember my math teacher demanding that I hand over my phone. And the rule for me getting a phone was that I had to pay for it myself. My parents...
So you were the cool kid in class. Clayton
with the cellular phone. I was basically Zach Morris, comb over and all. And I remember the moment where the teacher's like, you have to give me your phone. And this was something that I was had paid for and was paying for. And I was like, no, I don't. No, this is mine. He's like, no, you have to give it to me. I'll call your parents. And I said, go ahead. I'm not giving you my phone. And I put it in my pocket. And what are they going to do at that point? What are you going to do? Kash, I demand you give me your jacket. And you're like, no.
No.
It's my jacket. You can't have it. There's this where you realize it's kind of like the balance of power evening out.
Yeah, completely.
Was I in the wrong? I want the analysis. I can see it in your face. Tell me how 16-year-old Clayton was definitely in the wrong.
In the wrong?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's more of just respect for your higher ups. That's how I see it. But at the same time, I mean, you weren't following the rules. The rules were to not use your phone.
It's true.
Right?
It's true. Where do you think respect for authority comes from?
I mean, that's all I knew growing up, and that's the influence of my parents and my grandparents and, who I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it, for me, came from dance, too. Work ethic came from dance. Respecting your higher-ups came from dance. It's just how it was in that ballet room.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you just respected your teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just interesting to me. That's something that's hard for me to when I think about it now because it's really changed a little bit. And it changed while I was teaching, too, where it started that way. And then all of a sudden, kids don't necessarily respect their elders.
And I find it tough in the creative world because we're almost, I don't want to say judged on, but we're counted on to give the best ideas and throw them all forward, which means you almost have to look at each other with equality.
Yep.
Right? Like you have to all be on an equal playing field because if you give something as your role and I give something as my role and someone else gives something as their role, we're actually just fighting for the best idea. We're not fighting for it, but we're trying to find the best idea. But maybe the enemy of creativity is ego. Because as soon as ego gets involved,
Ooh, we're getting deep here.
then you kind of start hoarding.
I'm a visual learner, so like I'm staring off to the side right now, trying to like put all
Picture
those
it.
words like in a bubble.
Right? So you have creativity, and I think in our role, all we want to do is achieve the greatest. And I don't really care if you present
Like
the
everybody, or as a creative,
as a creative
personality?
force.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
you get in there and you want to collaborate because all you want is the greatest idea to come out of it. But the
And
only
it's so rewarding when it does.
Exactly.
Like,
And you don't care who
that's when
brought
you're
it to the
okay,
table.
I can go home, I can go to bed now and feel satisfied and try and do this all again tomorrow.
And the craziest thing about creativity, or collaboration rather, is that it never really ends up being one person's idea, because you throw something in the pile and that makes me think of something, so I add to it, and then everyone in the circle adds and adds and adds and adds and adds, and then you have like this megazord, like you have a super monster.
Well, and it's wonderful when everybody around that table gets a high from it too, right? Because
Completely.
it's just, like, you keep feeding that.
You're buzzing.
Feeding. Yeah, I live for that every day.
But that's why I say the enemy of it is ego. Because when the ego is inserted, then you want one of two things: either to keep the best ideas to yourself, or insist that your idea goes to the top, regardless of what other people say.
Take credit for it.
And take credit for it.
Oh, this was all me. Yeah, fair enough. Yep.
Yeah?
I think it does interfere completely.
Yeah.
And I've been creating and collaborating for years now, and I would be lying if I said that at some point you definitely feel that personally too, right? Depending on the project you're working on. But I also can say that now at my stage, I've completely been able to let that go. And it's because, again, it's going back to that, like, everything happens for a reason thing that you brought up right off the top. And this is where I am at today, and you could be crossing the finish line before me today, but maybe I'll be there the other day. Does that make sense?
Completely.
How do you feel about that? Can you let it go?
Can I let someone else's ego go? You tell me.
Yours.
Can I let my ego go? Yeah, in a creative spot, I can let my ego completely go and fade away. But where I get myself into trouble is that I can't let someone else's ego go, right? If someone else...
If you see it, you're going to call them out on it?
Yeah, and I'm not going to let it. It's not going to...
And that's fine.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really? Because...
I don't know. Yeah,
it's not a sign of a real collaborator,
like that.
right? Because if you're a real collaborator, then what you can do is you can deal with whatever you're thrown, right? You can take whatever someone gives you, and you can add on that, and you can, whether it's positive or negative or whatever, you're able to work in a group.
Isn't it more of a, hey guys, let's just like, let's go in this, let's get into this together. That's how I think of it, as calling somebody out.
I think that's my, going back to the signs, like the zodiac signs, that's the Aries in me, where when I find someone who wants to lock horns, then all I want to do is lock horns with them back. Right? I used to joke with one of my best friends when I was a teenager that were like, how dumb are these animals that they line up across the field and just run at each other and bash heads? But that's totally what I do. But I'm like, that's exactly what I want to do. When someone kind of like lowers their head and scuffs their feet against the dirt, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to do the same thing because that's what I have to do. You brought up everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting point of difference between us.
Okay.
Because I believe you have to find the reason in which everything happened.
Like looking back?
As in, you look at everything that happened and you ask yourself, what can I learn from this and what can I take away?
Yeah.
Not that it actually happened with reason, but you have to learn the lesson walking out of it.
Yeah, and I feel that this is speaking from experience. As I get older, I know exactly why stuff happens without even having to think about it as much. But that's going through lessons learned. But yeah, I know everything happens for a reason, plus comes with, the little package of lesson and all that kind of fun stuff.
A creative force in the industry.
It honestly calms me down. The entertainment world's so unpredictable. The creative world's so unpredictable. Thinking that way has helped me successfully
navigate,
get through without a breakdown every other day.
Oh.
No, it's not that bad, but you know what I mean?
The audition process is the most ridiculous process I've ever seen on the face of the planet for two reasons. First of all, I don't feel like anyone really pays attention to you when you've just sweated for the last 24 hours in order to get into that audition. And second of all, I'm pretty sure they've made their mind up before we even open our mouth.
Completely. Sometimes that's it. Sometimes they're like, okay, thank you. Like, okay, great. Okay.
Sometimes you need someone who looks 42 and could have 2 kids and whatever. Like, they have a look in their head probably based on something that they've seen in some other piece of work, right? And so really all they need is headshots almost, it feels like. You come in for an interview and they're like, no, you don't look like a this. No, you don't look like a that.
Yeah, or no, you don't look like your headshot.
No, you don't look like your headshot. I am the king. I am the king of having headshots that don't want to look like me at all. I'm the typical Instagram model type where I only keep the photos that don't look anything like me
funny.
Because I'm so happy with how they turn out.
That's funny.
When I was 6, trying to remember what year that was. When I was 6, I watched a movie about a man and his dog, and it's called Turner and Hooch. Mm-hmm. And it was Tom Hanks on screen. And at that point, I knew, even though I didn't end up pursuing acting, I kind of went down the acting road a couple times.
You yourself out there as talent?
Definitely. Well, I did theater for a couple of years.
You wore heels?
I wore heels once.
For theater?
Hashtag for theater. I wore a dress for theater. Someone asked me the other day if I've ever cross-dressed. I'm like, well, half. I'm halfway there. I just didn't walk out in public at it. Does this count? I think it does. But I can point to a source of inspiration. And it was that movie, and it was a few others around it. But that's what I always went back to. And I said,
that's what made you want to.
This is what made me want to
create. I call it create because
it is create.
You do it you have so many different outlets. So
do you create? Do you feel when you put on a personality, are you creating? Is it the same outlet as creating, or is it acting? Is it
acting?
Are you creating? Oh, see, to me, it's hiding.
You're telling a story. I don't think it's hiding.
I hid in acting all the time on purpose, right? And I think you
felt safer in a character than you did as yourself.
Completely.
So you can consider that hiding.
I was wearing a mask, and I was really happy to wear a mask.
But at the same time, a little bit. That's why I say actors are so effed up because in every role, a little bit of you comes out. That's the only way it's authentic.
So when there's
you have to relate to something. Like I'm saying this line, and I'm thinking about something that I've gone through, so that it comes across authentically.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep, completely.
And sometimes, I don't know. This is the weird part, but it's a hide to tap into those areas that you haven't shared with anybody else and that are hidden. And you have to be, a good actor is willing to go there.
See, I'm way more method than I am, what do you call it? Not experiential. There's a phrase, there's a term behind it when you tap into the pain, and I forget what it is. I am way more method. Well, I will way rather.
You don't want to tap into the pain.
I will just be the character, and I'll live the character for X amount of time, and speak in the voice that he speaks in, and address things the way he'll address it. So I feel like I'm putting him on like a cloak. And I'm wearing him around in everything I do just to understand him rather than try to find the me in him because maybe that's why
it's really easy to find the you in them.
But maybe that's why I got out of it.
Lines, you're like, whoa, yep.
But maybe that's why I never pursued acting was because that idea scared me way too much.
Yeah, I had a really hard time going from acting to hosting, being myself, trusting that myself was enough and not being a character.
Are you a character of yourself when you're hosting, do you feel?
I don't know if I'm a character of myself. I think different parts of Kat come out in the different things I do. Because every role I have needs something different. In-game hosting, it's like the over the top, the cheerleader in me is still there.
Can we get a sample?
No.
Come on. Do it.
I don't
Bring
know.
it.
What am I doing right now? It's just different. It's a different, just presence even, right? It's high energy from head to toe, more animated. I pronounce my words more.
Heavy on the enunciation.
Yeah. And it's just like a happy, very, very happy Kat.
Yes.
So happy to be here at the Raptors game today, guys. Thank you, and welcome to Air Canada Centre. It's just like that next level, and that's why I'm so low after games, that energy.
And doing that right now, when I asked you to do it, and then I realized, is it hard to do it when you're not in the environment? Does the environment feed you as much as you feed it?
Did you see my reaction when you're you're not going to make me do this right now?
Are you seriously going to make me Kat?
Well, yeah. We talked about it
on the way over.
Right over here. You feel, I could go to work and be like, oh no, I don't know how I'm going to do this. It was a 2-hour sleep last night because I was prepping for this and that and that and that. And the minute that mic turns on, it's easy. I love my job too. I love the in-game aspect. And so, I've never once said, oh, I don't want to go to work. And I'm very grateful to have found that feeling But yeah, no, the mic goes on and you're just like, let's do this.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, but then again, so NBA TV Canada, different personality. I find that that's more like of the Kat you're talking to now. Hosting this, like any show on there, it's a little bit different. On the broadcast desk, again, you're going to change a little bit. You're going to flavor it differently. And then Raptors Rundown, like the YouTube series, that's like super like a little bit more goofy Kat. I don't know. Do you see a character difference in it?
Definitely. I do, but we've also known each other a really long time.
Yeah, but it's like, it's me, but I guess I just like
put on different hats.
Different areas of my personality, like for each of these roles. Yeah. Interesting point, Clayton.
Raptor Space, not Raptor Space. Oh my goodness, Raptor Space Kat. Did I just go there?
I just said Raptor Space.
Holy jumping. Okay, so let's go back 8-9 years. When we first met. Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment has had their various television channels. They still do have some of them. There was Leaf Space, which was kind of user-generated content, which I was one of the users generating on the Leaf side. And it was curated by hosts. And on the Raptors side, how did I go to Raptor Space Kat in my head? I wanted to say Raptors Rundown.
It's still attached though. Like, it must have been that catchy because I'll see people I haven't seen in like 4 years and they'll be like, yo, Raptor Space Kat.
That's when Sweets was here a few weeks ago, Dwayne Watson, he was like, for the first time I had to call you by your name because I only knew you as Chancellor. And that's it was like, hey, what's going on? And I spent a year doing a couple in-game hits. Do you remember that?
I do, yeah.
In a very smaller game, a smaller arena.
Marley's.
I was at Marley's.
Yeah.
But it's so weird, the idea that you get identified by something that actually ends up being, it's you in a sense, as you said, it's a button you're pushing in your personality, but it's also like a title and a mask and a person that you're playing, because Raptor Space Kat was this Raptor Space Kat. It was this section of yourself. Every single time people saw you. And
like when we spoke in person, I don't know if you'd necessarily see that and that whole side of me.
Which is, you have to, okay, you said so after a game, you feel the energy go. In a weird way, do you have to wash yourself off? Like, do you have to wash in-game Kat off? Do you have to, when you get out of Rundown and you have to switch gears into something else, I
don't feel it as much.
No?
Like the Raptors Rundown, no. I feel like I'm more like, yo, this is me. And especially now, we've changed it a little bit. Like, the show has grown and changed to match how I've grown and changed as a human. And 4 years makes a difference. Like, I legit
Is that 4 years? Are you on year 4?
Like, I legit feel...
Holy.
I know. That's how it's changed. Like, I'm like, oh, it makes sense because I've changed so much. Like, and I know how I've changed, so this is why this is changing, like, in the show. Because I've got a lot of, like hands on it. Not just as talent. So, after a game, if we're, like, going to celebrate a win or if there's a birthday party or something that... I have to go home for, like, half an hour and just, like, decompress and just... and sit in silence. I don't even turn my television on. Usually like catch up on Twitter or something, but it's like, that's how I kind of repair myself after that high, which is not like repairing sounds so.
No, it's
I lose a lot of.
You kind of shedding.
Yeah.
You're shedding.
Like refueling
the soul.
Maybe that's the one.
Yeah. How was you brought up catching up on Twitter? When both of us kind of came into roughly the spots we're in now, I feel it was the dawn of the Twitter age, really.
Yeah, I know. Because I remember
Spring
them
2009.
being like, let's go on Twitter. I'm like, what?
The who? You want me to sign up for a what?
And my name's going to be what? Raptor Space Kat.
Raptor Space Kat,
like,
which actually that's perfect.
It was a very overwhelming day. No.
How have you felt social media add to and change and how is it incorporated in your brand, in your day-to-day life?
Yeah, well, I think it used to be more news. Right? Like that's what we would share. But now it's like, as much as I use it for, Raptors and such, I use it to brand myself. Social media has led me to some wonderful things. Yeah. I don't know what I'd do without it. Like, it sounds so funny, but like every day there's opportunities that come up from it. And it's a platform to, again, create and expose what you want to share with the world, if like in a way that you can't there's no other way to do it like that.
This is weird for me. We haven't laughed once, really.
Yes, we have.
Since when are we having a conversation this long where we like barely laugh or talk about something silly? So the first time we met, you were sitting on a chair.
Now you make me feel like I should be
inside the 307 studios, and I had no, that's a lie. Remember I told you the story about the first time we met?
Say it again.
So we're at Real Sports Apparel. It was the night of a Raptors game. You were still...
Was this when it was like in Maple Leaf Square, like the old one? Yeah.
Yeah, old Real Sports Apparel. It would have been close to opening, I think. Real Sports Bar and Grill had just opened, and part of your duties pre-game when you're captain of the dance pack
was to be over there.
Was to be on the other side.
Photos.
And we were introduced by someone we were both working with at the time.
I remember this.
And in the nicest of ways, you wear a costume, right? When you're part of the dance pack, you're in costume.
You wear a costume.
Right? You wear a costume.
Dress and knee-high boots.
Knee-high boots with extremely high heels. So you are naturally a tall person.
Yes, I'm 5'8".
5'8". Then you put heels on.
I'm like 6 feet.
And then your hair has this great bounce and presence of its own.
Well, that's a character there too, Clayton. A little bit.
Completely.
Yeah.
But that's who I met the first time.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the second time, and the only reason why I bring it up is because the second time we met
was at 307.
307 Lakeshore Studios. You're in ripped jeans, cross-legged on a big comfy chair.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you're wearing this wicked gray toque, as we call it in Canada,
that's
beanie as they call it in the States.
Yeah, that's Kat there.
And there I got to see someone without the costume on anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And we sat down and I have no idea what we talked about. I feel like, oddly enough, and this sounds totally like us, that's why I think it's real.
Okay.
I feel like we discussed a dream. And I don't know if it was your dream or my dream, but it's like, yo, I had this dream last night. What does it mean? Like one of those kind of conversations.
That sounds like something I would say for sure.
Totally. And that's how it started way back in, I'm going to say 2009.
Oh my goodness.
No, 8 years.
Stop saying years.
Does it? It's going to be a podcast about our friendship. We're going to document it year by year. No, 8 years, oddly enough, seems short to me. Like it seems like it doesn't.
But think about the things that have happened.
Personally, professionally, both?
Yeah, all of it. Because that's what we always talk about, everything, right?
Right.
Like it's been a wild ride. It's also like the lifestyle we choose and the industry we choose, and like it's going to come with those fun, wild, crazy, stab in the heart type of moments. Yeah.
And those times when your professional life leak over into your personal life.
Yeah, which happens. Often.
Not just people say don't take work home with you. Is it really possible in this industry?
When you say take work home with you,
you have the emotional
work, because
actual work.
You work 24/7.
I mean the emotional weight that work that our business pushes on you. Is it impossible to shed that before you walk in the door?
I don't think it's possible.
I don't think it's possible.
Okay,
not at all.
You're looking at me like that.
No.
Really like.
I'm curious.
I was like, what? Is this a hard question?
Because when people say don't take work home with you, it's like don't bring your personal life to work, which means if you had a fight with your girlfriend, don't bring it into the office and be all cranky because, your morning went terribly. So when you not bringing work home with you means don't let the emotional impact of work pour into your personal life. But I feel all I do is let the emotional impact of my work pour into my personal life.
Yes, and emotional doesn't necessarily mean negative.
No, not at all.
Positive too. So
completely.
Then it could cater to it in either way. Speaking from somebody that exposes herself to the world on a daily basis, your heart and soul is in this, right? And no, I don't want to. I don't want to turn it off. If I wanted to turn it off, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing.
Work is almost a part of you, part of me, part of us.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I don't think that everybody can say that. Because I know people that literally 5 p.m. hits and they're out the door and they don't think about work until they get back there at 8 a.m. the next day. To me, that's just, I've never experienced that. What is that world? Yeah. Like, what is that world?
Work almost doesn't start till 6 p.m. It feels like, in a weird way. During the day, during the daytime hours.
My creativity peaks in the evenings. I'm that one that's up at 2 a.m. and I'm like, this piece of writing is the shit.
Yeah. My brain is full. How is it everyone here to just understand it?
If I did it at noon, I'd be struggles for
completely
4 hours.
That's why I think I dedicate the daylight hours to what I call the paperwork of my job.
Yeah, completely.
Which I
can relate to that, yeah.
Meeting people, doing lunches, filling out forms, doing planning.
Well, I do a lot of on-camera work at that time, but a lot of the work that leads up to being on camera is done when the sun dips.
Right.
I just that's my zone.
What have you been allowed to do, or what has been presented to you? Because you bring up a lot of the preparation work you do. I've always liked how much control you've had into the creative process.
Okay.
But that happens before you go on camera. And
yeah, I've been very lucky. at MLSE to have that control.
And so you talk about the night hours and the time where the creativity is alive, and that's where you get to plan for what's going to be in whatever you're shooting the next day. What does that planning entail? Like, what are some of those exercises you go through or duties you have to fulfill that
it's a lot of, like, I mean, writing, right? Yeah. And like laying out episodes. Like I said, I have my hands in the Raptors rundown a lot. I give that example because I think that's where I have the most kind of creative say in. It's the writing part. It's the wordplay. It's, you know, mapping out what's going to happen in this scene. And I really enjoy that part of it too. It's weird to me to just like be handed a script and I was like, well,
no, read it. You're like,
you know what I mean?
Read it.
But when I started, that's all I was comfortable with.
Right.
Like, give me a script. I will say it back word for word. And then like I had a really hard time just like ad-libbing at first because I as an actor, you're given a script, and if you mess up, you start again and you do it again. What do you mean I can go off script and just like
run with
Kat?
it?
That was really hard for me to just be Kat. So that's something I really struggled with.
What was an inspiration for you as little Kat, as Kasia, Kash, Katherine?
An inspiration.
What was an inspiration that motivated you to pursue something like this? Because the odds, I liken it to almost like an athlete.
Yeah.
In the sense that the odds of making a successful, we talked about this many times, the odds of making a success out of a career in the entertainment industry are almost infinitesimal.
I'm so mean. I'm like, ha.
Have fun. It's hard because you always have to be changing and adapting. It's not like you can get a job and work at it for 25 years and get a healthy pension at the end.
You are always changing and adapting. And then there's a certain point, maybe like around the 10-year mark, when now you look behind you and there's women 10 years younger than you chasing your tail for the same positions, right? So like there's a lot in the industry that you have to consider. And I like I'm sitting here going, why did I do this? No.
This was a bad idea. I think part of it is the fact that you don't plan on it. You don't, if you're like me, you're like, I plan on doing this until I want to do something else.
Aries, you plan, right? And
I do, but I didn't plan this.
No, me either. People go, how are you here? And I go, some days I don't know. Yeah. Like, seriously. Like, it was trusting the process. Like, it really was just knowing that I didn't want to do anything else but this. And I was going to effing make it happen. Like, you know what I mean?
You said you were going to swear. You lied.
I know.
You don't feel comfortable yet?
No, I've sworn. But like, I have like a limit.
We'll see. I have a range in which I'll follow.
For the good moments.
I always say that I earn my explicit take every single week on this. Yeah. Happily. Like, I earn that beside it because I want it.
Like, in front of you right here. That was meant to be because I fucking wanted it.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Come over the dark side. We have cookies here. So, for me, it was the idea of, I'm going to do this until I don't want to do it anymore. And the idea of not doing it anymore never came.
Well, and that's when people ask, okay, so what's your next big step? What's your next big goal? Right?
What is your next big step? No. You heard it here first.
I actually hate that because it changes on the weekly. As a creative soul, you have, like, for me, it's that one, like, it's giving back to people. And I know it sounds so lame, but making other people happy. And I swear to you, I've said that since day one, since I was asked that 10 years ago. And I still say it. And maybe it makes me kind of like, cringe a bit because I was just like, Kat, you say this all the time. But it's the truth. Like, I always go back to it. And again, like, as a creative type that needs to create and create and create, every week it changes. Like, yesterday I was like, damn, I want to write and, like, have it professionally, like, published. Not necessarily a book yet, but, like, in a magazine. There's something different. But that's not what I want to do as my next, like,
career move.
You know what I mean? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I have no idea. Creating and storytelling. I could be here. I could be across the world. I could be not hosting anymore, right?
What was your first memory of wanting to create? I put on a play for my parents. Yeah. Actually, no, I'll go even before that. I used to love creating analogies. As weird, as dorky as that sounds, I love the idea of being like,
no, that sounds very
this pasta is to my tongue like the sun is on a hot sun.
Right. Like, maybe not like,
but that's, and I would literally sit in my room or I'd be in the backseat of the car and I'd be like, oh, the window is to my eye as, I don't know, I can't think of a good one now. I lost that art apparently. But that I think was my first inclination that I wanted to storytell, was this idea that I wanted to relate.
But you had no idea what storytelling was.
No.
Like, what was I doing, right?
Completely.
Like, I don't know what I was doing.
I think it just sounded smart. That's why I wanted to do it. I wanted to relate. That's what it was, I think.
Okay.
I wanted someone to understand me and understand exactly what I was thinking in that moment. I think that's where it started for me.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up, again, I started dancing at 6 years old. But before that, like, it was common. Like, if we had a family get-together, all the cousins were in the basement putting together the best show ever. Like, seriously, like, writing it and setting the lights up and having the costumes, and then our parents would come down and watch it. So that's what I think of when I think of, like, the first stages of creating. I started writing very young. I started writing, like, in a diary at, like, 9 years old.
Me too.
Yeah. And when I think back, I'm like, this is where it really started, like that writing part. Wanting to put it down on paper. And like the amount of journals I've like filled over the years. And it's so cool to go back. I found one, I was moving and I found one 4 years ago. And some of the words I was like, I don't recognize myself. It's just wild how you
hear something wild? Here's something I've never admitted before.
Okay.
Clay confession coming up. I lied a lot in my journals. As interesting as that is, I was in a way telling my story as how I wanted it to be remembered, not how it actually happened.
You weren't facing the stuff you didn't want to deal with. And it's interesting because your journal is your safe place.
Completely your safe, because no one knows what's in there.
Yeah.
No one reads it. No one.
You didn't want to face
I didn't want to.
You're going through.
But again, if we start with the idea of creating these analogies, and I want to create these little bits that I could say to people, that is creating a story. That's taking something that happens to you in real life and saying, what's the fantastical side to this? How would this be portrayed in a coming of age story? In that, even though I wasn't thinking it at the time, I've always seen life through kind of that lens where it is, how could I tell this story in a way that would be funny? How could I tell this story in a way that would be dramatic? What had to happen? Imagine this person said that. It would have completely changed everything that happened, and it would make people both laugh and cry at the same time.
So you even like smothered that on your life.
I smothered that into my life, and I think that came out in my original creative writing, which was my diary.
Yeah.
And then shortly after...
But it's interesting that your head automatically went to that place.
Completely. And it's
like you're not telling what happened today. Like today I went to school, I fell off my bike. Oh.
What's really weird is I can read it and remember what actually happened.
Yeah. Wow.
If I look back, I can read it and I remember writing it and the story I came up with, and I also remember what really happened. But shortly after that, so I was 10 years old, I think 9 or 10 when I started writing in a diary, and then I was 11 or 12 when I started writing short stories.
Oh, yeah. I used to love writing short stories.
Short stories.
That was my favorite part of school.
They'd be, single lined, both sides of the page, 14 to 18 pages. And my mom still has some of them.
Yeah, same.
And I think a lot of them kind of fell in this Hardy Boys meets Nancy Drew kind of. We were always solving something. I was influenced by a lot of the things in the early 90s. Like in one of them, I remember we all drove Dodge Vipers because, hey, that was the cool thing to do. I remember a handful of them happening on Vancouver Island, like in Victoria, in a place I had never been.
Yeah.
But I had just imagined what it must be like to live on an island in a place that it doesn't really snow, because snow and bad weather is something we had to face all the time. But shortly after my diary writing had started, within a year or two, I moved to short stories. And then as I enter my teens, I moved to factual writing. Like I was published at 18.
You're a very good writer.
Well, that's nice of you to say.
Well, yeah, you share stuff with me and I enjoy reading it.
It all kind of feels the same though, oddly enough. It all sounds like, oh, this is how I'd say it. I think my next goal is how would I write as you?
You still write?
Yeah, I just wrote a script today, like a script, quote unquote.
When was the last time you wrote before today?
Sunday night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I write all the time.
Because I find I have to I go through waves.
I'd say,
and as you say, you would hide that part of you, like that. Yeah. You would lie to your pages because you didn't want to face something. I think I just don't put pen to paper.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We've shared a lot of creative writing back and forth. We both kept public anonymous journals.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Which was such a freeing. I don't know why I ever stopped. It was so freeing for me.
I was mad. I can't find my site anymore. I tried the other day.
But what I found in that was then that was almost the next step to my journal writing in the sense that I no longer had to lie, but I always, I don't say fantasized, but I took something that actually happened in reality and then I wove this story of how I would tell it in a script.
And would you get a high from knowing people are reading?
Of course.
Some of the stuff that
of
is
course.
true. See, and that's another thing. That's going back to the acting side, right? Like it's a high of showing.
To me, that's relating.
That you're vulnerable, and that I don't know.
Oh, it was just relating that someone can.
Okay.
I can use my words in a way that someone can then see it in my eyes.
Yep.
Right. I don't.
And for me, it's more like shedding the layers and like showcasing a side of like the vulnerable side.
Right.
Like I get a high from that. It's weird. It might be weird.
It's completely
but that's
weird.
Why
I love it.
An actor. It's completely weird. Yeah.
Have you wanted to get back into acting?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, I crave it. I do. But
is it about balance that you want to? You like, don't take it the wrong way, playing the host, but then you also want to play a character, so you can kind of balance out the you and someone else.
No, it's not even balance. It's just like they're different outlets. And I have a restless soul. Like I want to do it all. I crave putting my energy into creating the character work again. But then the next week I crave putting my energy into something else, like writing or I don't even know. The list goes on. So
we saw the entertainment industry has, I would say, in the probably 18 months or past 2 years, had a lot of things brought to light. And we recently think of the news that came out about Harvey Weinstein, and then several other big name players in the entertainment industry, including agents, local players as well. That actually, we think of what happened with Gina Gomeshi at the CBC, and I don't want to say that kickstarted things, but that happened before the Fox and Fox Sports firings happened, which then the allegations there led to people opening other doors, and we saw it then now string through Hollywood. The Me Too campaign, if you want to call it a campaign or just a movement or just a recognition of how widespread this is, has affected me in a really interesting way.
Okay.
And that's because,
tell me about it.
First of all,
as a male.
As a male in the industry, right? And that's why I want to say interesting, because I relate to it in a different way. And I think growing up, having spent, I don't want to date myself, more than 15 years in TV now, you hear a lot of stories of like, old Hollywood. In old Hollywood, things were like this and these kind of things happen. But there was never a recognition of a time where that actually stopped.
No.
It's like everyone blamed the past and said, that was the way they used to do it. How foolish were they?
They stopped talking about it.
They just stopped talking about it because old Hollywood is now actually new Hollywood.
Yes.
And you're affecting people who are currently in business if you talk about them. What are your impressions on seeing so many share stories and taking it, or just simply saying Me Too, just in recognition of the fact that they too have felt imposed upon?
I wrote a post about it on Instagram. It's still a touchy subject for me. So where do I start? Like, I remember opening my laptop at work and just like seeing all these hashtags. And so obviously you're going to go check it out a little bit deeper because I'm like, what is this? What's going on? And I literally felt sick to my stomach. Like I had to close my laptop. I shared my words on Instagram about it. And it wasn't hard for me. That's the thing. But I think that's maturing as a person. Where I'm like, this is me. This is who I am. These are the things I've gone through. I hope I can say them to you so that you can take something away from it. And the feedback I got has been ongoing for like 2 weeks. Anyways, that's not the point. The Me Too, I've definitely dealt with harassment in the industry. Not to the point that these other stories have, taken people to. And in this post I said, some people said when I got into this type of field, my career choice put me in the line of fire. Sure. Being a professional dancer in the NBA, being an actor, being a public figure where you're judged on a daily basis. I've been stung hard by words and physical actions too. Even at a game, that's honestly when I knew I was like done with the dance pack, because unfortunately, I'm not saying everybody, these girls do get a lot of respect, but not by everyone. So I've had hands put on me at the arena thinking that it's okay because I'm wearing like a dance pack costume. It's so sad how people don't realize like how scarred you are. Like it hangs on to you. What gave you the right to touch me like that? Or kiss me like that. Like, I swear it's gotten that bad, right? So yeah, I definitely relate. Thankfully, I got thick skin. I've never been afraid to talk about it. It's just that now
There's the
rest of the
platform,
world
really. Yeah.
isn't afraid to talk about it.
Completely.
And there's a platform for it. So is that kind of what you wanted to get out of it?
I don't have to get anything out of it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to hear your side of it because it affects
sucks.
me.
It sucks a lot.
We've been like,
even like not even the industry, Clay, like going out to the bar and like the cat calls walking down Yonge Street. Like, really?
Yeah.
Like I've never understood. Ugh.
we interpret in very different ways. And why I find your viewpoint interesting is because we've walked hand in hand in this industry. I feel like a lot together.
Yeah, we have.
And yet there can be a singular event that now brings out just that idea that I don't relate to you.
Yeah, completely.
And I think that's what the whole purpose maybe of my life is, definitely of this podcast, that all I want to do is relate to you. And then in that way, we end up relating to other people. And it kind of shocks me. And that's why I felt you were the perfect person. Yeah. First of all, because we have a long-standing friendship.
Well, nobody's...
I hope. Still. Did I lose you? Am I not invited to Christmas dinner?
You've never had your ass grabbed by a fan at the 300 level?
I have never had my ass grabbed by a fan. I've never been catcalled.
Yeah. I laugh just because it's kind of like just shaking off the stuff that's still stuck to me, you know, from it. Like, it's not right. And I say to the girls now, like, anytime I see any of those girls, like, getting hassled, I'm like, we're getting a security guard right now, and this guy's out of here. Yeah. It's not okay. It's not okay. How do you have that, like, how do you have that in your soul where you're like, this is what I'm going to do right now, and I'm going to be okay with it? Ugh.
I can't relate. I can't relate to you, and I can't relate to them. What shocks me, speaking as a male, is first the ability to do it, because I am... if you look through my dating history, I am timid as can be. I am like super, super shy when it comes to anything. But like, how physical
as a person are you okay with?
But then how do you go and justify it? That's my problem.
Yeah.
My problem is, even if you say, well, okay, I admit I have a problem. Fuck you. You can't just get off by saying sorry. You can't, like, it's messed up, and it's the excuses we hear. And you had brought one up. Well, you know, when you chose this industry, you put yourself in the line of fire.
Yeah, that's what you tell me. Like, more than one person's told me that.
No, when I joined this industry,
have to deal with it, which is true. Okay, fine. I put myself in the line of fire, but why is that? Why
to be rejected for jobs, though?
Yeah,
you put yourself in the line of fire to be rejected for jobs, not to be manhandled or catcalled or whistled at.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think women deal with that in general, no matter what like industry they're in. Unfortunately. I also don't think it's just women. That's why if you read this post on Instagram, I never once said as a woman, like, use that. It was very, like, open to, like, both genders. So I just really think it's a problem.
I've had this weird need, I think, this week. If you ask any of the people that have worked beside, I've had this weird need this week to delve into deep issues. It's like I don't have it enough in my life at the moment, so I really need to go open these cans of worms.
Deeper right now?
No, I'm just curious. I see a tie. Yeah, we are kind of going deeper. Okay. I see a tie. You can draw a line between what's going on in the United States, first and foremost, racially, with the same kind of attitudes that's going on when dealing with the workplace and inappropriate passes at coworkers, or just how you deal with people. That's what this whole Harvey Weinstein bit has really continued to...
Isn't it wild how so many people kept their mouths closed?
I think it's scary. Yeah. I think it's... You can't go up against your boss. It's real. Why? Because especially you live in LA, that costs a certain amount of money, and your decently paying job is barely paying for the apartment that you rent. I can only imagine people being scared. Mm-hmm. But I see this tie where there almost has become an acceptance that this is the way it's going to be. And we see it, I believe, in the racial tensions that have come back to light. And now we see it in sexual tensions, or sexual tensions is the wrong word, but the tensions between men and women, that there can't be this acceptance of this is the way it's going to be. That's not what change is.
No, I don't think people are accepting it now.
I hope they're not accepting it.
This whole like sexual harassment thing. I don't know if you read an article. There was a great article on
Huffington Post?
Huffington Post. Yeah, that's the one I meant. And it just looked at it from a different perspective where, you know, they put it out there like 19 women were raped this month. Why isn't it 19 men raped women this month.
Interesting.
You should read it. It's very, very interesting. It's all on the women, all the stats. It's the women. It has nothing to do with the men in the picture, even though technically, who's that wrong, right? It's put down in statistically that it's the woman that was raped and not
Interesting.
the males.
The attacker.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of television, as you know.
Really?
We talk about it all the time. And what I've found, especially in the last couple of years, while watching especially older programs, really pick it. We can do it with older programs because we've seen the social developments that happened during that time, and then we watch it in ways inseminate the programs that we watch and see how they deal with it. Not to oversimplify, but Law and Order is Dick Wolf, what he did with the Law and Order series and continues to do with the Law and Order series. I think it's unbelievable. But what he did with the Special Victims Unit, kind of offshoot of Law and Order, that I found really interesting is it seemed like at least once a season they dealt with sexual harassment cases that happen on campus. And there was always this victimization of the victim. And I think that speaks to what you were saying as to the post and this ability to excuse the actions of the offending party, of the guilty party. And I always found it interesting that they often drew off stories that were floating around, even though names and, specific, but the real life stories that they then want to delve into.
Right.
And although more often than not in a television fictionalized program, they did not succeed because society as a whole wanted to protect the guilty party and victimize the victim, I was always impressed at the fact they felt the need to continually bring it up in their story arc and remind people this is a problem, remind people this is a problem, remind people this is a problem. And we look at a serialized television show and you can say what you want about it. You may have loved it, may have hated it. Me, I like to think Olivia Benson and I would have been pals. But I appreciate the stones that can exist in our industry of people who want to bring issues to light that need to be dealt with.
I appreciate it.
Socially.
And I think it's becoming more like a way of life. Like, think of all the things that you would never talk about even 5 years ago. And I'm not saying like just what we're talking about right now, but even things like meditation. You didn't say that you meditated before bed. That wasn't a topic of conversation.
I think of just the ability to talk to a professional doctor, like a therapist of any sort.
I'm going to my therapist today. Cool, great.
It is totally accepted
great afterwards.
that in today's world that many of us need a therapist. Many of us suffer from depression. I think of the way our veterans have been treated who have suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. The fact that it was even named a disorder at all, and it wasn't just, that person's weak.
But don't
that person
you see
can't
it more now?
completely.
Like, don't you feel like people are going, okay.
We have to understand.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm curious to know if it is a symptom of the Western world. Because, and I've traveled, especially the last...
to that right when you say it? Yeah.
The last 5 years of my life, I've traveled a lot more, seen a lot other ways of doing things, and we are a high-stress society. We talk about it especially when we're wound up. Even when we got in the cab, when we got out of work, I was wound up. Like, I could feel it in every nerve of my body. And it's kind of like the pick your poison. That's, in a way, almost what we sign up for. But it's nice to know that there are outlets, that there are people listening. Bell, let's talk. And unbelievable just recognition of what depression can do to a person, then to their friends and to their family, and how it can ruin lives.
It's okay now. It's okay to talk. And that is an example, but about everything. And I just feel like it makes you as a human almost puts you in a better space because you can just be your fucking self. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely.
And now we're allowed to be ourselves and almost praised for like being authentic and raw and just showcasing that, we are all in this together. Yeah. I mean, you get that perfection side still of social media, let's be honest. The people that don't share the true tales, that sugarcoat them. And personally, I don't relate to that. That's okay. That's not me. I love that you do what you want to do. Like, I really, I have nothing against that. You do you, I'll do me. But it's just very interesting to see that split more.
Completely. I think, it's interesting how we come full circle. It, in a way, almost ties into our ways in which we choose to storytell.
Mm-hmm.
I want to relate to people by putting an example of something in a way that I went through, but then also I thought about out there. And again, I bend facts when I create a script or I create a story, but that is only in an effort to relate more to more people. You open up and
relate.
you talk about the high you receive when you can just be you with people, and then you see the effects of that, and whether it's support or just comments or even something, just acknowledgement. You don't even really need support sometimes. You just need, it's nice to see the acknowledgement that people in a way relate.
No, that's what I love the most. I really needed to hear that today, Kat.
And that is, we're able to storytell, I think, more than ever and reach more people than ever before. I think when I look at my field, and I meet more than enough students coming out of school that just want to grab lunch or kind of want to pick your brain a little bit. And I don't want them to ever feel discouraged, because you can pick up a quality camera in my field of work, or audio gear, or an odd light, and you are way under what I was able to purchase it for, let alone those in the 80s were able to purchase it for. Our ability to then create our stories and share them in a way that expresses ourselves and gets something off our chest.
Yeah, that's what we've been talking about this whole time.
It's bigger than ever before.
As much as you and I both want to contribute as storytellers and creators, it's at the same time helping us out personally.
Completely.
Yeah.
It's therapeutic.
Wow.
I watched this great documentary. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it dealt with the release of the 8mm camera, and how basically it was the boom in the New York film scene that happened in the late 70s, early 80s, and they link it directly to the release of the 8mm camera, and then even to this one store that received by questionable means a bunch of these, which they then sold for far under market value, and they were already cheap. And you have all these actors, all these filmmakers that from the late 70s, early 80s that got their hands on this affordable camera and created these pieces of shit. But you need to create crap in order to create great. You kind of need to find yourself. It's like refining precious metals. But they could draw direct lines from so many different people involved in the film industry to this one camera being released and what it did. And I feel that we're kind of there again, where things have become affordable to, and this isn't even 8mm film in which you have to splice, well, first of all, buy film, but then splice it and try to tape it together and buy a projector to show it. I've seen short docs done on an iPhone, which are breathtaking.
Friggin' fantastic.
Toronto has International iPhone Digital Festival. I'm going to mess it up.
Something like that. There's so many festivals.
They have an iPhone Digital Film Fest, which is unreal, and I'm dying to enter it, actually.
Amazing.
Where it has to be filmed on an iPhone. We are lucky in Toronto that we get to see so many. Like right now, they have the After Dark Film Festival.
That's right, yeah.
Which is all a whack of indie horror flicks. And horror is this incredible genre for me, not because I like getting the shit scared of me. I really don't.
I do.
Do you really? But
that's how we are different.
You have seen so many examples of the past of a piece of work that's made for nothing. And when we talk in this industry, nothing, it's like $20,000, which is actually nothing in film to get it distributed. And then they break out and make, $300,000, $400,000, $600,000. And that can launch someone's career right there. We have now, and I can't remember it's the production studio. It's the studio that did Get Out, which I absolutely loved.
That's a great
by Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
Unreal. They play off the numbers game where they finance a whole whack of low budget horror films. First of all, because it helps people develop. But second of all, they know that if one of them breaks, they can cover the slate for the year with the returns they get, which is incredible. And I love that ability that's now handed to us in order to just tell a story. It's funny. We're going to have you back. I'm going to have
are
the
we
two
already
of us.
hitting an hour right now? Or way over?
An hour plus.
An hour plus, yeah.
An hour plus.
I know. I feel like this will just be part A.
This is part of it. Well, we haven't, I really wanted to.
But that's what happens when we get together. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been 6 hours and we haven't shut up.
I feel like we spent the first 30 minutes getting comfortable with the idea that there's microphones.
See, you were uncomfortable.
I was. I forgot.
Fine.
I was.
Microphones are like my best friend.
It's true. It's kind of your home.
Like, hey, buddy.
You know, I took mine out of my holder, and that changed everything for me because I was able to lean back, which is weird. It's the first time I've done that. This has got to be part A. You have to come back. We didn't. I really wanted you.
I'd love to keep chatting.
I really wanted you to.
I even have a bunch of stuff that I want to bring up in conversation.
Like right now?
Not right now.
You don't want to do it right now?
I'm on that like post game low right now. I'm getting
yeah, the energy's gone.
Over an hour.
I could have told you. What if I told you it was 40 minutes? Then you'd have to go for 20 more.
I know.
Oh my goodness, so much to talk about. We didn't even get to your journey.
Oh, yeah. Well,
at all?
That's old news, Clay.
No, it's not old news. People definitely want to hear the journey, but we can save that all for next time. I got one more question for you, though, before you leave. I've been fortunate enough that we've spent a handful of Christmases together. That's kind of the way our friendship has gone. My favorite probably involved Cards Against Humanity.
Oh, that's dangerous.
And a bunch of the Muppet movies, which is not dangerous.
At the Stefankiewicz house.
But I need to know, I'm trying, we're at that time of year where I got to start doing my Christmas planning, my Christmas shopping.
Are you asking if you're invited?
No, I'm asking what you want.
Oh, for Christmas.
No, what do you want for Christmas? I'm pretty sure it's, the number one question. When someone saw Kat Stefankiewicz on the podcast roster, they thought to themselves, I wonder, damn it, what she wants for Christmas. Cash?
Well, I just moved, so it's everything house
related?
Housey. So this
housey.
Is so sad what I just thought of.
Tell me.
Like one of those little diffusers that, like the oils, that lets out the oils in the house, the sage thing.
It kind of like warms it a little bit, and then it turns it into it aerates it, it mists it.
Yeah, it makes your house
smell nice.
Lovely, and it's very therapeutic, and I need some de-stressing.
I was shooting with
lavender in my life.
I need more. That was my dad's favorite flower. The lavender.
It's a relaxing.
I was shooting with a player.
So that's not what you wanted to hear.
Last week, that's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Okay, well, there you go.
I was shooting with a player last week, and part of it took place in his house. And as I was getting ready for the shoot, someone that I work with on my team was like, you know what? He looks like he smells good, which I thought was really funny because how does someone look like they smell good?
I can see that.
I showed up at his place, and he was burning incense.
Oh,
and I'm like, whoa, you burn incense? Because he's not really the guy I'd expect on a team to burn incense.
He's like, wait, I gotta
he's one of the young guns. I barely have all my boxes put away at home, and I've been there 8 years. He's already like well set up and burning incense. He's like, yeah, I like a good smelling house.
There you go. Oh yeah, I'm like Candle Central.
Oof.
Bath and Body Works.
Now you know where to go.
Cookie candle.
You're Toronto Raptors in-game host.
That's my final question for you. Help me build a title. I hate that question. What do you do?
What do I do?
No,
or what do you do?
Like, do you like that question? I appreciate when you're talking to like a guy at the bar and he doesn't ask that question for like an hour.
Oh, interesting.
I hate that lead in.
Now, why do you think people ask it?
I think they're lazy.
I think they're lazy too.
Yes.
I think it's an easy thing to bring up.
Yeah.
That shows, I'm personally interested in you because I'm asking you what you do for work.
Yeah.
But
because
I truly
I'm going
think
to judge you on what you do for work, pretty much. That's how I take it. And I was like, and I go the long way around.
See, I'm going to take the other side of that.
Mm-hmm.
I have had interest shown in me because of the title I hold.
Completely. So do you want that?
No, of course. Well, there was a time in my life. There was a time in my life.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie to you. We've been friends for a long time. There was a time in my life where it was fun to be recognized or to receive attention. Oh, no, not Chancellor. No. Just as things I've directed, things that I've put together. And then when people ask you what you do, you're like, I direct a documentary series and blah, 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 blah. Now, I don't even like mentioning sports. Yeah. They're like, what do you do? And I say, I work in media.
You're like me. That's how I start. And I'm in the entertainment field. Oh, so what do you do? Oh, well, I'm in television. Oh, so what do you... Well, it's like, hopefully they get bored.
I hope they give up. I hope they realize that I'm trying to brush them off because I really don't want to talk about what I do because it's weird how a title sticks.
And that's the thing. Not because I'm not proud of it.
Not at all.
But because I don't want you to continue
exactly
your interest in me for that.
What's the question you get all the time? Oh, can I guess? Mm-hmm. Can I get a pair of free Raptors tickets?
Bingo. But
Yeah.
ching.
I always ask you for free stuff.
Like people?
People, just general. You get friends coming out of the woodwork and saying,
Yeah.
can you get me Leafs tickets?
Yeah, I mean, you can relate, no?
Yeah, completely. That's why I'm...
And it's fine. Like, it is what it is. But my answer is usually no, because it's very difficult.
And
Not because I don't like you, just because, like, I genuinely can't.
We only get so many asks a career, let alone a year. We only get asked so many times for a favor. I can't go and blow it on less important ones of someone that I haven't seen since grade 12.
Well, that's
And they
the
figured
other
out
thing.
that I...
Yeah.
Come on. I appreciate playing your contacts, but after 15 years, I'm not your contact anymore.
Oh, well, yeah. I think I'll
That's
just leave it at that.
That's a warning to all my friends on Facebook. Don't friend me.
You have heard.
Yeah, you have heard.
Do not reach out to Clay.
So what title would you go with then? Just entertainment?
I don't know. I really struggle with it, and I really have decided that I need to figure this out. In-game host of the Toronto Raptors, digital personality, host
I think
for
it's
NBA
long.
TV Canada. You see what I'm saying here?
Right, that it kind of gets obnoxious.
I know. But if you say host and personality, I guess that's right.
Host
This is just
personality.
getting too much about me.
That was the point.
Oh,
Oh,
I don't like
I go with, I'm in media. They say, what do you do in media? And I say, I assist in video work. And then they generally leave it alone. You could go the same.
I assist in video work?
You assist in video work.
Okay,
They're not
fair
going
enough. I'm going to try that
It
one.
might be. You should try it. See what happens. Katherine Stefankiewicz, host, personality, and assistant in video work.
I love it.
We're going to pick this up
I need new
second
business
time
cards.
around. We got to go through your history. We got to find out how you got to where you got.
That'd be fun.
But for right now, I think we got to go find dinner.
Yeah, I'm starving.
I'm starving.
But I did enjoy this, so thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. You're the guest.
I know. Thank you for having me. That's just how I do things.
You're welcome. Your check is in the mail.
Sage diffuser in the mail.
Please do me one favor, though. Mm-hmm. Be good to yourself and eat your vegetables.
Yes.
I came up with that with you, actually. You don't even know.
Yes.
Do you know? Did I tell you? That's I end every podcast.
No, but I was like, yeah, it's familiar for sure. But I was like, is this his ending?
It's my ending,
You're
completely.
going to have to do it again
No.
because I'm here.
Uh-uh.
Double time.
You want it again?
Yeah, what we're
So it came from a text message, and I think we were both having a rough week.
Yeah.
And we're going back and forth, and you said, be good to yourself. And I replied,
And eat your vegetables.
eat your vegetables.
Amazing. I love it.
Bye.
Bye.